Welcome back everybody to another episode of Ask Lewis. Today Serafina has a great question for us. Let's dive straight into it.
It's all about chain rings. Sometimes there's like 2 chain rings, sometimes there's 1 chain ring. I've had a single chain ring before on a bike and I hated it. It was awful. I just would always want it. It's like, oh, I can't change. So why do people have 1 chain ring and what's the difference and all of that?
Great question. We spoke a few episodes ago talking about gear ratios. When we're talking about a single chain ring or a double chain ring, some of the terminology you might have heard before are 1 by and 2 by. As in 1 chain ring by however many on the back, or 2 chain rings by however many we have on the back. So 1 by and 2 by. 1 by is really common for gravel bikes or mountain bikes especially as well, because what we can do is by having a single chain ring on the front means that this rear derailleur can be a whole lot stiffer here, so we've got less slack on the chain here. It's very stiff. So as we're going over bumps in the road and everything's shaking around, the chain is less likely to drop off. So we can have a stiffer rear derailleur, stronger gears, a lot more common for off-road with all the bounciness and the rocks and all of that other sort of stuff as well. So really common for mountain bike and gravel bike. And I said before about gear ratios, talking about our easiest gear and our hardest gear. We know that the hardest gear here is going to be whatever the front chainring is, which this example is a 40 tooth. By a whatever size the smallest cog down here is, which I think is a 10 tooth. So it's 40 by 10. Whereas on this one, we've also got the easiest cog is a 40 by a 50 or a 52 tooth or whatever it is. So a very large, almost dinner plate size cassette on the back. So we can have a similar easiest gear and a similar hardest gear, but the step between each gear might be a little bit bigger because we also have less cogs. Again, really common on a mountain bike, and there's one less thing you can brake because you don't have a front derailleur. There's less things you have to think about. Do I need to shift into the small chainring or do I stay in the big chainring? You don't have to worry because there is no option of chain rings. We just sit in that one. On a road bike, however, it's a lot more common to have the double chain ring, because on a road bike, we have sometimes when we're riding and we're going down a really steep hill, we're doing 50 kilometers per hour or something incredibly fast, so we need a really big chain ring on the front so that we can stay on top of that gear. But then when we get to the bottom of the hill, we have to get back up the hill again. So we need an even easier gear when we're going 5 kilometers an hour up the hill or something like that. So then we can use our left hand, which is our front derailleur, to change that front chainring. So that now that ratio is a whole lot easier. So now we're talking about a 30 tooth, I think it's 30? Yeah, a 30 tooth as opposed to it's a 36. We've got a 36 tooth and a 50 tooth, rather than just between the 2 numbers, we had only a 40 on this one. So the easiest gear is even easier and the hardest gear is even harder, and we have more gears, we have more variety. But if you look at the rear derailleur here, as we're riding along and we're hitting all the bumps, can you hear everything rattling around there? It's a very uncomfortable ride. I can even hear it almost touching the frame as well. So on a road bike, we're not going over too many bumps or ugly sections on the road or anything. It's usually quite a very smooth ride in comparison to the gravel bike or the mountain bike. So having a nice wide gear ratio is really common. Some of you might have been watching the Paris-Roubaix race not too long ago. A couple of the top elite athletes there were also running a single chainring on the front, even though they're on a road bike. To be fair, they're spending most of the race at 47 kilometers an hour, I think the average was throughout the whole race, so they're sitting at an incredibly fast speed, but those cobble sections are very bumpy and the chains were dropping and flat tires and all this sort of stuff. To limit how much the chain was dropping, a lot of them chose to run that single chain ring so that they can have that stiffer rear derailleur as well. So although far less common on a road bike, that would be one rare scenario where it would be a good idea to have the single chain ring on the front.
Yeah, no,
that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, because I always wondered why would you choose one or the other, but that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I do like having 2, so
yeah.
I obviously don't like bouncing around all over the place.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of different bikes. I've got my road bike, which has a double chainring on it, but my mountain bike, I go and do jumps and wheelies and skids and all that silly stuff. So I don't want the chain to fall off. So I can have that stiffer rear derailleur, that wider ratio cassette, which means that I don't need to worry about what's happening with that front chainring. So there's different types of riding that call for different types of gearing setups, I suppose. Yeah, yeah.
And a fixie?
And then, okay, fixie is another term. Fixie is talking about single at the front and single at the back. So fixed gear, we only have one gear. But fixed gear, I don't know if I have any in the shop here, the fixed gear won't allow you to freewheel backwards. So if you're riding along and then the back wheel's spinning, the back wheel could not spin. The pedals would keep moving a little bit, which means that if you roll backwards, it's quite solid. You sort of see that on the racetrack at the velodrome. You'll see our Olympians doing that as well when the Olympics come around. I've ridden them around before and they're a whole new skill level. I'd love to watch you trying to do that in a video one day. Fixed gears are, I don't know how they do it, man. It's very impressive.
I can't imagine it because you're just stuck in that.
No brakes. They have no brakes on the handlebars as well. I should mention that.
There's actually no brakes.
The brake is just, everything's controlled through your feet. So you don't even do anything with your hands.
So when I was a kid and I got my first bike when I was 5, I had to wheel backwards to put the brake on.
That's a different one again. That one's called coaster brake. But yes, yeah, back pedal brakes, coaster brakes, yes. Yes, totally different thing, but yes. I don't have any fixed gear bikes here to show you. They're...
No brakes.
Yeah, no brakes. When you want to slow down, you have to push against the pedals, and the pedals want to keep moving with the chainring. They want to keep going forwards. So to slow it down, it's a whole other skill level. You watch these postie riders in New York, you know, riding in throughout the cars and this sort of thing, and you'll see them like skid the back wheel. They're skidding the back wheel because they don't have a brake. They're trying to skid it with pushing the chain. I don't know how to explain it with words. It's a whole other skill level, a whole other skill set. Yeah, I think you should absolutely try that in a video. Try riding a fixed gear bike. When I get one in here, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm nervous already.
Yeah. And that's got nothing to do with double chainring or single chainring. That's a whole nother. Yeah, I can't even do it, man.
All right.
I've got a friend of mine that can wheelie one, and it's the most amazing thing. Anyway, yeah.
Maybe if somebody's got one, let us know because we want to have a go and make a video about the fixie.
Yeah, if you've got a fixed gear, I'm sure Serafina would love to do a video with you and see the skills that you have that she really wants to learn, I'm sure.
You're doing it too.
Oh, am I? Okay. Oh, no. No, I take it back. We don't want to do it anymore. Okay, let's do it. You've convinced me. Yeah. All right.
I'm going down, you're going down.
Yeah. Hopefully I can learn how to do it just like the rollers when we did rollers. With enough practice, I reckon we can get over it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching our video talking about chainrings. We were talking about the 2x and the 1x. Now you know the difference between the two, road bike versus off-roading in general. Yeah, hopefully that sums it all up.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Thanks for watching. See you guys.
Bye.